Welcome to the Manufacturing Shakeup. We're your hosts, Ellen Feldman-Ornato
and Jenny Drescher. We're talking with dynamic women from across the manufacturing scene in Connecticut.
Hello, listeners. Have you ever met somebody out in the world at a networking event or a public event, and they're so put together and they're so poised, and that first impression leaves you with a feeling about them that probably doesn't indicate the path that they've taken to get them to that day? So today we're going to dive in with a wonderful woman who works for ASML. Her name is Lara Mouakar, and she is going to talk with us about the path that she's taken to get to her current position from Lebanon. Welcome, Lara.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're excited to have you here. So let's start with, you went to high school in the US for a while, right? Tell us about where you came from and when you came back to the US.
Yes, that is correct. So I came from Lebanon with my family. I went to high school in Hopewell Junction, New York. That's in East Fishkill. And after I finished high school, just when I was about to start university, my family moved back to Lebanon. So that's where I did my higher education. And then I got married, raised a family there. A few years ago, 3.5 years ago, almost 4 years ago, my family and I decided to move back to the States because of the economy and the whole situation in the Middle East. And that's how we ended up here.
And you came first, right?
Yes. So I came first just to see if I can, settle down, get a good job before I had to move my whole family over here. So I came over the summer. I stayed at a friend's house for 2 months. And once I got a job at ASML, I said, yes, this is it. So I asked my family to move here and settle. And that's what we did.
I love this whole piece of your story that is very much about two pieces we would never expect people to have, which are your background is in education and you landed in manufacturing. Can you help our listeners to understand, like, how did that happen? Like,
Yes.
You got here, you said, I need a job. My background is education. I think I'll just find a manufacturing job.
I'm going to leave Manufacturing. There we go. Why not?
Clue us in about how that happened.
Yes, so I never expected that either. When I first came, I applied for jobs in education because that's what my background is in, adult education to be specific. And I did get a couple of offers from educational facilities, and at the same time, I got an offer from ASML. I had applied at ASML as a group lead, so it was not in education at first. I'd applied as a group lead in manufacturing on third shift. And the reason for that is I wanted to be with my family during the day, especially my children. We are in a new country, new environment. I didn't want to leave them all day long. So, and once I got the job at ASML, I said, okay, now do I go into something I'm very familiar with, or do I challenge myself and go into a new industry? So I decided to take that leap because I wanted to learn something new. I had been in education for close to 23 years of my life. So I said to myself, Lara, you need to challenge yourself. And that's what I did.
So can we pause just for a second? Because how old were your children when you moved here?
So there's a big gap between my children. I have, so my youngest was 8, but my oldest were 19, and I have a 20. So right now he's 26. So back then he was 23. There's a big gap. I wanted to be with my daughters, both of my daughters. My youngest one was pretty young, so she needed me there. And my oldest, she has special needs. So, and she wanted to go to university, so I had to be with her as well.
Mm. So you decided to come here and take a third shift job so that you could attend to those needs as well. And you
Yes.
got into production, which was something you had never done. That's a huge leap.
Yes. Yes, it was challenging. Yes, it was.
What was the biggest challenge for you moving into a production facility as a group lead?
So the biggest challenge, there were several challenges. I would say the biggest challenges is, well, one, I was not used to, manufacturing environment. I had to lead a team of 15. Well, before they were 15, they were around 10 technicians who definitely knew what they were doing. And here's me, coming from a different background and leading them. So that was a challenge. Of course, which was expected. There could be resistance, which was, and of course, I had to learn the environment as well. I had to learn what they did as well to be able to support them and help them grow as a leader. So yes.
What did the resistance actually look like? I think I would love to hear a little bit about what that resistance looked like and how you overcame it.
Yeah. So it was actually, it appeared in different forms. For instance, they were, well, to begin with, they were not very. I needed to ask questions, right? I needed to ask a lot of questions, and that did not did not resonate well with some people. They were like, "Why is she asking? Is she micromanaging us? Is she, and so on?" And then I had to explain, of course, the reasons, because I need to know to be able to help them out. Also resistance because, again, they were all male technicians, and I was the only female on the team trying to lead them. So there was a lot of different things. And also coming from Lebanon, yes, I had lived here in the States for a while, but it's a different culture, different. I'd been away for a long time. They would talk about TV shows that I didn't know about, or throw jokes there that I wasn't familiar with, or things like that, and I would be like, oh. But then, yes, and then we actually, I broke those barriers and we built a good relationship. I hired more people, and we ended up being a good team.
Fantastic. So you overcame the resistance with determination and proving to them that you wanted to support their efforts,
Yes, correct.
right?
Correct.
And I'm sure that was challenging at first and got better.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, correct. I helped them a lot with cross training, building their skills because of my background in education. I am a true believer in continuous development and growing, people growth, and that's what I did.
Fantastic. And then you moved, like, how did the transition happen that you then moved into adult learning and leadership development there at ASML? And by the way, what does ASML produce?
So ASML is a semiconductor industry. So we are an industry leader in the semiconductor business. So we work with cutting edge technology. We manufacture the machines that make the microchips or the semiconductors.
All right.
Yeah.
High tech here in Connecticut.
Very high tech.
All right. So now the transition.
Yes. So the transition. When I first joined, I believe a few months after I joined the training team, before I joined, the training team did not exist. After a few months, we developed established a training team. I met with the training manager. I knew it was there. I had it in the back of my mind. And then after, because I had to serve a certain time in my role. So after about a year and a half, there was an opening on the training team, and I said to myself, let me go for it. So I applied and I got the position. Of course, it brings together some of my now knowledge in manufacturing, modest knowledge of manufacturing, and my training background together to help the company move forward.
Mm. One thing that jumps out at me about you is that there's an irony in the fact that you came up with an education background and then landed in manufacturing, and you're still at the end of the day, everything is about continuous improvement with you, right? It's that feels to me like the theme that you are helping light the way for in your work, whether it's you're a team lead of technicians or you're a team lead in learning. And of course, continuous improvement is a big name of the game for us here in manufacturing. And it seems like you do that, like you embody that. You really are living that, which is so cool. Can you tell us what continuous improvement looks like for you as a leader now in your present role?
Yes, so I am a strong believer in continuous learning. So it's not just an advantage nowadays; it's a necessity, especially with the evolving technology and AI and things like that. So it's a necessity for career growth, job security, for the company to be adaptable. So for me, what it looks like is empowering people with the right skills and the right knowledge to help them grow, because if we do that with our people, that's how the company grows and also prepares for the future. So making the workforce future proof, if you want to call it, and more adaptable to certain disruptions. So providing this growth is very important. That's what it looks like to me in any position I'm in, whether I'm in manufacturing or in learning, or growth is something very important for the people. I am at ASML because I strongly believe that it's a place that fosters growth. And that's how I'm still there and I'm flourishing at ASML. To me, I'm also learning myself. I'm still learning myself. I have a master's in education and linguistics, but I'm still now pursuing a master's in an MBA, a master's in business administration, and that's of course with the support of my company, who also believes in the growth of the workforce.
Well, I love that you mentioned that, and I'm curious, how will going through the coursework and obtaining a master's in business administration enhance your role and your impact at ASML? Why did you think that that was the next logical step for you from an educational standpoint?
Yes, so my I have one of my goals is to also develop my leadership skills. And for that, I think a master's degree in business is needed. As I said, I come from a background in education, but I don't come from the corporate world, right? So I need to understand the business better if I want to help my company grow. So this degree will help me and is helping me. I can see it, right? It's helping me understand the business better and what the business needs from me.
Okay. All right.
I wonder about also in addition to the formal education aspect of your own, continuous improvement of self as a leader, what are some of the recent things as you've continued to do that? What are the recent practices that you have adopted that you may not have had when you first started out as a lead, that now you realize, ooh, this is something that I must be engaging in all the time? What are some of your personal best practices that you just engage in all the time, so much that you probably don't even notice you do it anymore?
Yeah, so I think one of my best practices is also like shadowing other people on when they're doing their job as well, trying to get help when I need, when I don't know, because of course I don't know everything. So asking for help is something that I've learned to do as well. I would also say, like, on the job training, seeking others, building a network also where you feel comfortable going to these people and asking for help as well. This also fosters growth, more growth, not just the formal education, but also knowledge sharing from others as well.
Sure. It probably that humility of, I don't know what you do. Can you tell me? Regardless of what position they're in the company, also elevates your credibility with those folks. Right. If you're designing learning for them, and this is one of the biases that Jenny and I have in terms of how people learn, if the learning you're designing is contextualized to what their reality is,
Mhm.
and you can actually design for the way that they do things, understanding how they already do them and help them iterate on what's next or better, it's much better than bringing in an outside consultant who doesn't have that context.
Yes, that is
Right?
correct. And that's
There's just a
where,
lot more credibility there.
yes, that's correct. And that's where when I want to design a learning solution, first thing I do is I meet with the end users, right? I meet not just with the customer tells me what they need, they tell me what the learning gap is, but I also personally like to meet with the end users to
Yes.
see what makes sense to them, what the gaps are, how can I help them close these gaps. So it's very important to ask these questions. Help me know or understand what you do. How do you do it? What are the obstacles? So these are very important to me.
Mm.
Yeah.
One thing we love about manufacturing in our small but mighty Connecticut is the diversity of thought and talent and language and background. I mean, some of our clients right here locally in Connecticut have 10 languages on the shop floor. And it's very cool because you get so much richness of thought and ideation, and how do people look at problems, and how do those backgrounds and perspectives contribute to the growth of the organization. I'm wondering, are there things that you think of from your own personal cultural background growing up Lebanese that lend themselves to your or others' continuous improvement journey, whether that's learning solutions that you're developing or things you discovered on the shop floor when you were still on that side of the house? Like,
Yes. I would say, diversity is rich, is being rich. So just to give you a small, ASML has 140 different nationalities. So that's a lot, right?
yeah.
And as you can see, they're all for diversity, inclusion, and every single one of us, we accept other people, we accept each other's perspective, we help each other grow. How I look at things may be different from how other people look at things, right? My way of working is different than theirs. Even the way I learn is different. People learn in different ways. People are unique. So, but I think this diversity it just enriches the work environment, and it's very important to accept other people's ideas, um, give them the opportunity to share their thoughts and ideas. So don't shut them down, and just ask questions. If something is not clear, get clarity, because we all have our misunderstandings, or we're not sure about what others are saying, especially when they come from a different culture. Just ask the questions, get clarity before people jump to conclusions. So
Mm.
yeah.
That's a rule to live by right there, right? So I'm going to use that as a segue into our shake-up factors today. The first one is the one that Lara just said, which is when in doubt, ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Correct.
amazing to me how often we don't do that because we're so on track for doing something else. That's just, we need to beat that into our little skulls. When in doubt,
Be
ask. When in
curious,
doubt, ask.
not
Yeah, be
judgmental.
curious. Shake up factor number two that I really think is super subtle is being clear with other people when you're communicating with them that you're asking to learn, not to control. Right? This resistance that you overcame came from really showing I'm asking not because I think you're less than, or because you don't know, or because I'm trying to control or command or make you do things a certain way. I'm asking for my benefit. I feel like that's a place where we can all grow in our ability to ask great questions and convey that curiosity. So when we're asking, being clear in our own minds and intentional about why we're asking, how we're asking, and asking in a way that elevates the other human being.
Mhm.
Those that seems like a best practice that came out of your transition into manufacturing. I'm going to steal that. I'm going to start working on that one myself. Um, And shakeup factor, actually, they've got 4 today. The next shakeup factor for today is continuous improvement. For us in manufacturing is not just about our processes. It's continuous improvement of me. And the benefit I get from putting a continuous improvement lens on myself is that it makes me more able to adapt, to find security, and to find a sense of personal power. Because all 3 of those were things you articulated and that you've accessed through applying a continuous improvement lens to your world. And then the last one that I heard you say is shakeup factor number 4 is shadow people. Be the shadow monster. Shadow, what is going on? Just pay attention, look around. That's right. Be the shadow monster. Creep around behind them. No, I'm just kidding. but really just this
Not in a creepy
idea
way.
of just observing, what are they doing well? We can shadow at any time we want. It doesn't have to be a shadowing that is about, I remember back in the day in waitressing, it was shadow the head waitress. But we can shadow any time in our career. Anytime we can just be watching, what is that person doing? What can I take from them? So, man, you are a treasure trove of good things for all of us to learn about growing our careers. Lara Mouakar, I am so glad I got to learn from you today. Thank you for joining us. Friends out there in
Thank you, Lara.
listener land, go and try that stuff on and then post on social media. Who did you shadow and what did you learn?
Only the shadow knows. All right. Thank you so much, Lara.
Thank you very much for having me again. It was a pleasure meeting you, Ellen and Jenny, and I wish you the best of luck in future podcasts.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great one.
The Manufacturing Shakeup is sponsored by the Connecticut Office of Manufacturing, produced by Maselli Productions and Gale Communications, and hosted by the Boulder Company.